We're back and we're doing another episode of Explaining Bait with Sonubaits. Different types, when and where. Don't forget, comment below if you want to find out about anything in the Sonubaits range. We'll look into it and see if we can give you the answers. But today we are going to talk about hard pellets. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about hard pellet fishing first, because I would say, for me, I find this really interesting, because hard pellet fishing has basically come to dominate and be the staple approach across commercials in the summer. How we feed it, when we feed it, how we go about it. They're such a good bait. It's incredible, really. There was a time, sort of 15 years ago, I remember, when I didn't even want to use pellets. I thought corn, meat, maggots, worms, all those sort of baits were better, and I wanted to get the most out of them. These days, fish have had pellets constantly, every single day since those days 15 years ago, and now they see that as their natural bait on commercial fisheries. So we have to adapt as anglers, we have to use that, and obviously we all are, and we're getting some great results. But that means, as a bait company, we always want to give you the best bait possible to fish in the styles that you want to fish in, and that's where hard pellets came about for us. So just to give you an example, first of all, I've got some 6mm Fin Perfects here, which are a fantastic pellet. Okay, these are a really great pellet, and we've adapted our Fin Perfects over the years. So in 4mm and in 2mm, our Fin Perfects are like a coarse type pellet that's not particularly hard and dense. They take water on quite nicely, they expand up quite nicely. You can use them brilliantly on method feeders, on sort of banjo feeders. If you want to tap in soft pellets, you can use 2 and 4mm pellets. The 6mm and the 8mm, we've sort of converted those over the years to a denser pellet, a harder pellet that you can use, and you can use them straight from the bag. We consider these to be like your basic pellet. If you went to fisheries, you'd probably find the fishery pellets are almost identical to this style of pellet. But obviously when we do Fin Perfect, we try to source really high quality in terms of size, density, making sure they're consistent, not like a cheaper type of batch of pellet, which is why if you look in the bag, you can see a really even size, beautiful pellets, and something that you can use to loose feed, soak up, whatever you want to do. With hard pellet fishing being so prominent, hard pellet fishing is effectively looking to fish on the bottom with pellets. You want a pellet that, one, when it hits the water, breaks the surface tension every time, sinks and is nice and heavy on the bottom, but more importantly, it isn't going to break up quickly when it's on the bottom, because one of the downsides of like a Fin Perfect style pellet might be that it'll break down on the bottom quickly, and the fish will almost, if they don't eat them, they can end up being a little bit powdery on the bottom, becoming a little bit slimy, and that's great. The fish will still eat them, but they'll get dug around in the silt and they're not as clean, and you're not fishing as well as you could be. So basically we talked in Sonubaits and said, look, why don't we produce the perfect hard pellet, a pellet that you can use when you're pinging on a pole, when you're trying to fish on a pellet waggler, up or down, bomb and pellet, something that goes in, is very attractive, isn't going to break down quickly, and is really consistent in size. And that's where we've done these in hard pellets. We've also done them in bigger bags as well, 900 gram bags rather than 650, so you get a load of pellets in there for a session. And every pellet from 4mm, 6mm and 8mm is the same consistency, size, and treated the same way. So when you're on the bank, you can pick the size, and I'll talk about size a little bit in a minute. So what makes them a little bit different? Let's get them out in my hand here. So what we do is we take our pellets that we know are high quality, like a Fin Perfect style pellet, and these are actually treated with a fish oil, so very, very lightly. So they're still a nice coarse pellet, they're not a high oil pellet, very far from that, but they've effectively been rolled in that type of fish oil, which means they're absolutely bone dry as you have them here, but when they go into the water, every single pellet sinks straight away. It breaks all the surface tension. They're a tiny bit heavier So they catapult true, they catapult accurately because they just hold their shape a little bit more. And we've mixed in a few deep red pellets as well, because a red pellet is very trendy at the moment as a standout pellet hook bait. So if you want to just pick a red one out and use that as your hook bait, you can do. Perfect for banding, perfect for loose feed. So it's only a minor tweak from a standard pellet, but it's the way that you might like to treat your pellets on the bank. A lot of the time I found myself getting the Fin Perfects, putting them in a bag, putting a tiny bit of fish oil on there, shaking it around, leaving it for a couple of weeks so it all got absorbed in, and then I get myself a little separate tub of red pellets. We've done all of that for you. It's literally all been done, so you can just open the bag and use them on the bank. Let me give you a guide to sizes, because I always think sizes are really important. Let's start with the 6 in the middle. This is my go-to carp fishing on the pole pellet. So carp from 3 to 15 pound, the 6mm is always my go-to. Very hard, very dense, the fish love crunching on them, and you are specifically targeting carp when it comes to this type of pellet. And that's what I think is very important to sort of point out, because a lot of people, when they're using hard pellets, they think, oh, can I use them for skimmers? And that, you can't really, they're not as good. The carp absolutely love the hard pellet. So you can almost think of it like, as you're feeding them, the fish might pick them up, but you're not going to get a skimmer gorge itself on hard pellets. It just can't handle that. These are more designed for carp. So in the summer months, when I'm looking to maybe flick 8 to 10 pellets all the time, 6mm will be my go-to. 4mm are also brilliant. I always think a 4mm adds a little bit more attraction. Sometimes if you want to feed more, if you want to feed like 20 to 25 4mm, that's probably the same volume of pellet as, let's say, 10 to 12 6mm. But you're obviously getting a few more pellets, something that's going to get eaten a little bit more easily. If you want to attract some F1s, smaller fish that maybe just want to deal with a slightly smaller hard pellet, 4mm can be great. As a guide, I'd say if you're targeting fish £1 to £5, you probably want to be talking about the 4mm, and you can shake them in with a little pot or loose feed a few as well. A great thing that I do a lot of the time is I get my pot and I'll shake a dozen 4mm in, and then I might flick 3 or 4 6mm over the top, because they're a bit noisier. I can catapult them really accurately, and I'm actually getting the best of both. And then of course, finally, we've got our 8mm hard pellets. These are proper bad boys, big pellets, nice and hard, great for great big carp on big waters. When you're fishing pellet waggler, bomb and pellet, these are a brilliant pellet for fishing like 20, 25 meters. Or if you just want to target great big carp. I've been to carp waters where it takes a Larford Specie Lake, and I've just fished 8mm on the pole, loose feeding like 5 to 10 hard 8mm pellets. On that occasion it's fishery pellets, but 8mm pellets of course, and flicking them in nice and accurately and just targeting carp. So if you're on a venue where there's a lot of smaller fish, go to the 8mm and you can target those bigger fish. That is what hard pellets are all about, and what makes them that little bit different from a standout pellet, and why we did them to try and help you catch more fish that bit easier.